So in terms of saying what will the literacy teaching look like, there are specific things that we would hope when a teacher was doing literacy, they were doing. And the guide that we've just seen would be a really valuable framework for framing that up. So it would be along the lines of using pro formas. I mentioned earlier today that the key currency for us as teachers is the content that we're teaching, and so making sure the teachers actually have time to unpack their lessons and see where to slot the strategies in it is really important. In terms of what does a positive motivation or disposition towards literacy teaching actually look like? So what's the teacher doing? Well, the teacher is really, through their behaviour, is showing a commitment towards teaching literacy. The teacher is prepared to teach literacy, really sees it, sees the value of it, believes that it can solve particular learning problems, that there is a preparedness to discuss individual students' learning needs in terms of where they are in literacy. And for the teacher also to believe that they can be successful in teaching literacy. Now, a whole lot of these things, though, depend on what the teacher thinks literacy is. And that's really important. Our position, or my position on literacy, literacy is the knowledge that I use to convert written information to knowledge in my mind. That's what I'm saying literacy is. Literacy is what I know to do to convert text, written text, into knowledge. That's what I'm saying it is. And if I work on that assumption, if that's what I think literacy is, then it would be appropriate across all areas. And the last aspect, and this is probably going to be, the area where when you're leading the professional learning, you're going to need to do a lot of work. You're going to need to do a lot of work in this area, but this is the area where probably your colleagues will realise least they need help. This will be the area where they will realise least that they need help. We're not at this moment talking about what to teach. We're not talking about what the knowledge looks like. We're talking about how to put it in place in your classroom. And when I was doing the PD at Footscray City on Tuesday night, and one of the people who turned out to be a student teacher raised the question, look, all that you're saying is fine, but I can't get the kids disciplined enough to do it. Now, like when you've been teaching since '66, you learn one or two little things, even though kids have changed, about discipline. But that person was talking from, their perspective of probably had a week, like a week as a teacher. And you learn a lot in your first 2 or 3 years as teachers, not in a week. So, but that's really what we're talking about. That's really, and I tried to very quickly get over to the guy, that for me as a teacher, what I communicate through my body language, when I pause, how I stand, who I look at, who I decide not to look at, how I alter the tone of my voice, the actions that I use, all of those things are to do with this aspect. And this aspect is how do I actually fit the teaching into that context? Will I do it? Will I be more likely to introduce a new strategy at 2:10 with year 9H? Or will I wait until 9:10 tomorrow morning? You know what I mean? You know these things exactly. So it's really how well I can read the situation. This is what I call being streetwise about teaching. It's where you've either got nous or not. You can be the most knowledgeable person. You can know the best teaching procedures, but by golly, you can foul it up if you haven't got nous. And it's the whole issue to do. It is to do with the tone of the voice, how you manage things, how you actually put things in place. And so the teacher, this is where the planning is so important. It's important that the teacher knows how to implement in a manageable way. That's why I think the week by week thing, planning it out week by week allows you to do it in a manageable way. How are we going to take on board the student attitudes? So the first once or twice I do it, I'm going to go over and say, hey guys, that was great. You really learnt that well. Now, I'm not going to do it on the 20th occasion. I remember when I went back to teaching in a secondary school from working at the children's cottages. Now, when I first worked in college, I said, oh, that's wonderful, you did that so well. And when I went back into the year 7 class, I said, oh, that's wonderful. So well, the kids thought I was mad. Well, they probably guessed where I was from. But do you know what I mean? It's really along the lines of, and it's really important that we bring the children along with us. And remember I said the other day, when I was teaching year 10, on one occasion I wanted the year 10 students to learn how to paraphrase, to see the value of paraphrasing. We were doing some topic in science. So I had a text of about 300 words where we had some sentences and some questions. And for 20 minutes the kids worked through those. And then we had a second paragraph, a second 2 or 3 paragraphs that continued on, and some questions. But this time, as we read each sentence, we paraphrased. And I said to them, and then they answered the questions. And I said to the kids afterwards, in which case was it easier to understand and learn? And it was obvious. And so we said, okay, if it's easier to understand and learn, and you want to get out and play footy as quickly as possible,